A pleasant morning to all. I'm Fathima Rasha from 8th. Today I'm going to take you to a land of mystery, to a land of adventure and a land of magic. Yes, I'm going to introduce you to an outstanding book. It's my personal and it's one of my personal masterpieces that I've ever read. So before revealing about the book, let me tell you about the author. The author is Paulo Coelho. He published this book in 1988 in Portuguese language and later was translated to 70 plus languages. And it was also one of the record-breaking books in history. So before telling you about the summary, I want to tell you something that what I'm telling is completely different, or the experience, what you are experiencing, when somebody is saying you something and when you're reading book, it's completely different. So I'm just going to tell you the summary of the book and let me tell you the review also. So this book, or the main character, is Santiago. He's a shepherd boy who always has a dream about finding a treasure in the feats of pyramid, and he always have an inner calling in himself. And one day he consults a gypsy woman who interprets his dream and tells him that you have to visit Egypt, and she demands 1/10 of his treasure. Santiago was a little bit confused, and on his way home he met the king of Salem, who also pursued him. He said that you have to visit Egypt and you have to find your treasure or the mission for you in this earth. He also tells a thing, or the wisest saying that I've ever read in this book, is that if you have something deeply, if you have a dream, so deeply that the whole universe will conspire you to achieve it. They'll help you. And that's a highlighted point of this book. And then he pursues him and he sells his sheep and he is off at Tangier. And when he arrives at Tangier, a thief robs him up and he's completely lost. He's in a strange city, he's in a strange atmosphere, and he's just looking around that he don't know even the language Arabic, and he's completely lost. That kind of feeling. He works under a crystal merchant who is very lovable and teaches him many lessons, and he asks him that, why are you here? He tells him that I am here to pursue my dream. I'm here to take a treasure, and he tells that it is in Egypt. And the crystal merchant begins laughing. Are you kidding me? Egypt is so long that you can't even imagine. Even if you work here almost 2 years, you can't even have the money to reach there. So the boy is completely lost. He says that I'll help you. I'll give you the money to reach to your homeland. And he says that okay. Then he works under him and he has lots of adventures. Days passed, months passed, and it's almost a year. He has completely given out of hope about his dream to go to Egypt and find his personal legend. And on his way back home, he hold those 2 stones which was given by the king of Salem, Urim and Thummim. When he hold that, he have a kind of feeling that tells him that you have to find your personal legend, and that's your mission. And he also hears about the wise sayings about the king of Salem, and he thinks that I'm almost at here. Why should I give up my hope? I should pursue it. And he sets off in a caravan. He has enough money, and then he meets an Englishman who is very delighted and he's always into books. He tells him about alchemy, he tells him about Alchemist, and he tells him about Philosopher's Stone and Elixir of Life. It may kind of like some kind of Harry Potter stuff, and it is I also find it interesting that it is kind of in Harry Potter stuff. And the Philosopher's Stone means it is a stone that can change anything or any metal to gold. And Elixir of Life is a liquid. If you drink this liquid, right, you will not have any kinds of illness and it will cure you. He find it interesting, and they are talking and they are having lots of adventures, and they are crossing the Sahara Desert and they are going to the oasis Al Fayoum, and he has lots of adventures. I think that I can't even express it in words, because when you read them you will have that feeling. He has lots of adventures, and the death was up to him. It was facing him. He had conquered the world. He had a feeling that he's gonna conquer the world, and he learned alchemy. He learned many lessons in his life, and then at last he pursued his personal legend and his treasure. And all the story goes on, but there are lots of twists and there are lots of interesting parts. If you read this book, you will have that feeling. So then talking about my concept or my point of view is that this book is actually a motivational, a kind of divinity or kind of, personal legend, seeking your destiny. And when you're reading this book, you are having kind of goosebumps and everything. It's totally a feeling. And when I completed this book, I was going through each and pages, and it was 160 pages long, but I felt like it took a lot to read it, and it was all about the journey, all about the adventures. And when you're reading this book, right, you'll have a feeling that you are going through these adventures, and you are Santiago, you are that shepherd boy, you are crossing the Sahara Desert, and when you find this treasure, you will have a feeling of accomplishment. And I really hope that you will read this book. If you don't have the physical copy of this book, you can also go to pdfdrive.com and install this book. I found an interesting part or conversation between Santiago about love. Love is a force that transforms and improves the soul of the world. When I first read through it, I thought the soul of the world was perfect, but later I could see that it was like other aspects of creation, and it had its own passion and wars. It's we who nourish the soul of the world, and the world we live in will be either better or worse, depending on whether we become better or worse. And that's where the power of love comes in. Because when we love, we'll always strive to become better than we are. The meaning is that when you love something, or when you have something deeply affected in your mind, you will go to the end of the world to make it perfect, to make it nourished. I hope that these sentences will leave a trace in your hearts. And I hope that you will read this book. I'm stopping my words here by giving you a quote. There is only one thing that makes your dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. I repeat, there is only one thing that makes your dream impossible to achieve: the fear of failure. Thank you.